What's happening? Welcome back to episode 3 of the Fight Out podcast with Ellen Mike. We're going to be talking about UFC Fight Night, Abu Dhabi, what happened, the fact that we both had a skinhead on the 2 bets. To be fair, Mike's just a little bit heavy because he had Ferguson on it as well. And yeah, go from there. How are we, Mike?
All good, how are you? Enjoyed the fights?
Sound, mate, sound. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was all right. It was, I don't know what I was expecting really looking back, but yeah. I just thought it'd be a little bit better. Like the main event was okay. The Bullet didn't get the KO, which was a bit disappointing. Figgy and what's his face, Cheeto was a decent little fight. Mackenzie Dern was all right, and Joel Alvarez looked all good. But like I said, I don't really know what I was expecting, but I just thought it'd do a little bit more for me.
Yeah, I don't know whether we got caught up a little bit in the windfall of a really good UFC event the week before. Yeah, I know there was a couple of, obviously at 3 or 4, I know there was a few decisions in a row and Dana wasn't too happy, but the hype around it and stuff like that, I think I got caught up in a bit of a windfall thinking this card was going to sort of follow suit. And to be honest, it flattered to deceive a little bit, didn't it, to be honest? We have to be honest, like.
Yeah, but just before I forget there, because you mentioned Dana, did you see his interview the other day with Kevin Iole? All of it though.
No, is that I've seen the snippet he's talking about Tom. Is that from?
Yeah. So it's from that interview, and he gets asked about like Bilal basically as a champion, and he says in the post-fight interview he was quite tired and annoyed.
Yeah,
I was dying for Kevin Iole to say to him, "Well, what about the fighters?" And I think they didn't say it. But just wanted to ask you, as you said, Dana there before I forgot. But yeah, I think you're right. Like probably got a little bit carried away.
Yeah,
it was going to be a little bit better. It wasn't a bad card, but no, it weren't the best, was it?
It wasn't. And I think looking back, with hindsight's a wonderful thing. And then looking back, the fights, when you look at the fight card now, they don't look as good as they did to me a week ago. But I suppose that's just what happens sometimes. That's what happens with these fight nights. That's why they're fight nights, I suppose.
Yeah, very true. Nice to be at a normal time, though. Yeah. So, like I said, we both got 7 out of 8 on the 8-fold bets. I had Dudakova let me down. I had a 9-fold with Jayon. Also had Dudakova on the same on that bet as well. So obviously she's killed me twice. You had an 8-fold with Tony on, who was obviously a dog. So that was a nice little, 7 out of 8 win there. And then we had the 4-fold as well that only Mackenzie Dern let us down on because we had a buy sub. So for the 3 people that are watching the podcast, we've got half a clue, Oh, if you fancy a little dabble every now and then, you might, have a little listen to us.
You know what? It's not a bad effort getting 7 out of 8 on an 8, like on the UFC. Anybody can win them fights, and to call 7 out of 8 is quite impressive. And to be honest, I'm happy with myself because, as I say, the one that I didn't get right was a 4-1 dog, and I did make that clear last week that I was betting on odds there and not so much the fighter.
Yeah. I mean, the prelim bets were a good shout. I still think Dudakova's decent. She just looked awful, and obviously she got beat. Yeah. I mean, she's early on, like she's only 9 fights in now. But enough about the bets. Anyway, we'll dive into talking about the fights. We'll start at the main event, title fight next. I think for the winner, Umar. What do you reckon on
it? I thought he did what he tends to do, what he looks like he does, what the Nurmagomedovs do. Do you know what I mean? He looked good. He looked well rounded. He probably looks more well rounded than the others. I think. He's closer to Islam, isn't he, than what he is to Khabib? I'd say his striking's probably a level up on Islam, but he's got good striking mixed in with Khabib's like relentlessness to get the takedown. He's relentless on the takedown, and I thought he looked good. I know, was it one judge had a 50-45?
Yep.
I don't know if it was that wide, but he did win. He won comfortably. The right man won. I don't know if it was that wide.
What did you have it?
I think I had it 49-46. I know it makes no massive difference. I had it 49-46.
Yeah, I had him 4-1, like.
Yeah, I did myself, and I think Corey Sandhagen is a world level fighter, and at times in there he looked like he was just surviving, and that shows the level that Umar's operating at.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know it's very early days, but to me, he actually looked better than Islam and Khabib did at that level. And what I'm thinking of there is when they both basically got the title shot. So Khabib got the title shot off the win against Barboza, I think. And to be fair, he looked heavy in that fight, if I'm thinking of the right one. but like his stand-up and stuff was nowhere near. And then Islam got the title shot off the Bobby Green fight, and thinking back to then, he was nowhere near as good as he is once he won the title. Whereas Umar looks quite ridiculous, to be honest, going into it. Like I said, I'm assuming he's getting the title shot next. The UFC loved the Nurmagomedovs, so I can't imagine them going a different way. The only other way they could go, I think, is giving it to Figueiredo, but they've both got similar wins there. Obviously, Umar has been in the division longer, and Figueiredo was ranked higher going into this fight, but then Umar should beat number 2, so he's probably going to leapfrog him and go in at number 2. And yeah, I'd be very surprised if he didn't get the title shot. They both beat Cheeto, they both beat Font, but Umar should beat number 2 in the world.
Yeah. Well,
he beat number 5, I think.
I'm sure we'll probably discuss this later on, but I think if there's anything to be said for the rankings, I think they do show intent, and I think Dana has a lot of pull on them rankings. And the fact that Umar's gone from 10 to 2 with his win would state to me that he's the next in line.
Yeah.
I think Figgy only moved, has Figgy moved from 6 to 5, maybe?
That's what it was, yeah.
Vader's gone down from 4 to 7. So I think for me, it looks like Figgy's another fight away. I think Figgy's maybe a Peter Yan or a Corey Sandhagen himself away from a title fight. And I think Umar's next in line for O'Malley or Merab, whoever wins that.
Yeah, I think it's PL to Yan, me.
Yeah.
I think that's the fight to make for him. Other than that, I can't really see a fight. Like, the Sandhagen fight isn't as impressive because Sandhagen's coming off a loss. You know what I mean? I seen Brendan Loughnane saying, like, Sandhagen's better than a gatekeeper, but if you want a title shot, you've sort of got to beat him to get to it. But right now, he's on a loss, so you haven't got to beat him. You need to beat somebody on a win, in my opinion, to get a title shot. And I think the Piotr Yan fight lines up better. I actually can't remember who Yan fought last. There's where Yan's on a skid as well, but I'm sure he's on a win. But I can't remember now anyway. But yeah, I think that's the fight to make, to be fair.
Do you know, kind of, it seems a little bit unfair on both of them, but you know, Corey Sandhagen at the moment kind of reminds me a little bit of, he's a bit like Dustin Poirier. He's right there, but he's just an early man. I just wouldn't fancy him to win a title against any of the other top 5. You know, if he had a title fight against any of the top 5, I just wouldn't back Corey at the minute. I don't know why. I think he's just a 7.5 out of 10 everywhere.
Yeah, I actually think Poirier's got a better chance than Corey, as mad as that sounds. Poirier's nearly retired, but I actually do think Poirier's got a better chance than Corey at winning the title. It's like Colby as well, isn't it? Like the sort of there or thereabouts, but they don't quite have that whatever final percent or whatever it is to get over the line.
Yeah, and you said something interesting earlier when you were talking about it. It's only just triggered in my brain when you were talking about Islam and Khabib when they won the title there, and he sort of kicked on and went up a level. I think there's definitely something to be said for Umar as well. If he gets that sort of champion boost that they tend to get, that like what Leon had in the second fight against Kamaru. If Umar gets that, he could be unstoppable in that division. Yeah,
I agree. I think he looks very good. I think it's a bit guttering he's too small for featherweight. I don't like everyone moving up and going for double belts, but I think like if he was a little bit bigger, he could have potentially gone and done that there. But I think Bantam's probably going to be where he's at.
Yeah, in terms of future fights in that weight, though, my only worry for Umar is I think the best thing that can happen for him is Merab to win. Only because I don't think he has a better chance against Merab. I think he has a better chance against O'Malley. But I think if O'Malley wins, he steps up and fights Ilya.
See, I know what you mean there. But I think Merab's a bad fight for Umar. Like, I think Umar's the closest to him.
Umar stylistically matches up better with O'Malley. He can probably stand with him if he needs be, but he can get him down definitely. Whereas Merab's a grinder, isn't he? But my only thing on that is, how long does Umar want to sit out and wait for the title? Because if Sean's fighting in September and then doesn't want to fight again until next April and fights Ilya, then if he suffers a bit of a knockout familiar to Poirier, then which is likely, he might be waiting a year Umar to fight for the belt. So
yeah,
where he wants to go then.
Like I said, Dana in the UFC like the Nurmagomedovs, so I could see them putting a bit of a pin in that Ilya fight at first. But I mean, then again, it depends, doesn't it? Depends how much they fancy it. I think if they can get a stadium in Spain, they might make it.
Do you like the?
By the sounds of it, they're struggling for that.
They like the Clipper Sean, so don't they? I think they see him as one of the main.
They look to Sean saying like, I'll be honest, I think Sean beats Merab, and I know that's very sort of going against the grain. Everyone's fancying Merab. I just think Sean's slick, mate, and I think you can hit Merab. Like, obviously he's all day long just going to keep coming at you, but we'll talk about that in a bit anyway when we're talking about what's next at Bantam. So
I'll save my thoughts on that one for now.
Yeah, go on. So we go to the co-main, the Bullet. What do we think?
Comfortable victory. Do I think he could have stepped on it slightly more? Maybe. Did he need to? Maybe not. I think he is what he is, and he's an excellent kickboxer. He doesn't mix it up that well, but does he at this level? Does he need to? When he steps up, he might need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, a good win, and he was exactly what we thought he'd be, wasn't he? His kicking is outstanding. He's absolutely specialist on the kick. Like,
I think it says something when you're disappointed that he didn't finish him.
Yeah.
So going into the fight, I thought he's going to finish him, especially on short notice. When he didn't on the night, I mean, you know, we'd had a few bottles on the night as well, but I was watching, I thought, that's that. On the night, I thought he looks half human there. He doesn't look, no, like at first when Kamzat went to round 2 with Gilbert Burns, and you were like, oh, so he's human. Like, he's actually, you know, he's got some faults. Felt a little bit like that for me. But then when I've watched it back, I thought, nah, he did look good. Just Mikhail Oleksiejczuk had a little go at saying the name. He's just got a chill on him, man. He took damage all night long.
How long have you been practicing that for?
I watched Nick Pizza before.
Yeah, no, just on the Bullet anyway. I thought, to be honest, I think I've seen similarities in his last 2 fights. I think last 2 fights he's had, I've been really excited to watch him. Mostly just from the hype and sort of what I've heard he's about. I haven't seen loads of him prior to that. But in his last fight against Tricoli, that was a short notice fight again. Tricoli was so unfit, and he stopped him in the 3rd round. But he fought well. He fought similar to what he did on Saturday night, but he didn't get him out of there quick. He got him out of there when Tricoli was done on his feet. I think at that point, like, I think I'd have had a good go at knocking him out. But it's just, sometimes these fighters, they get bigged up so much that you're disappointed when they don't stop people. But realistically, he's 19-0, isn't he? He's young in his career. He's 19-0. So you've got to believe the hype for now, haven't you?
It's a heavy record that to be, you know, relatively new in the UFC, coming through, getting into the rankings, trying to climb up the rankings, all that stuff, and to be 19-0, like, it's a heavy record. Now, I'll be honest, I can't speak for probably 15, 16 of them fights to tell you who any of them are. But now that he's here, yeah, it is a heavy record. Like,
my only concern for him, and I touched on it the other day and said I don't think this division's the deepest division, but what it is it's quite a wrestle heavy division. But once he gets into the rankings, I do worry slightly for him, because obviously we haven't seen any wrestling at all, really. I'd like to see him in there with a decent level wrestler, try to take him down and see what his takedown defense is like and see what his wrestling defense is like.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say what's next for him, but I'm more or less guaranteed that it's not Nick Diaz. Like,
no, what did you think of that call out?
That's a mad one. I'll be honest, like I said on the night, I'd had a few bottles watching it. I was thinking, what the hell is going on, mate? I was thinking, what are you doing here? The only reason why I can think he called him out is because he replaced him on the card. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, it makes no sense. He's not ranked. He's not at the Bullet's not at the stage in his career where he needs a big money fight or a legacy fight. He should be talking about climbing. Nick Diaz doesn't climb.
That's 100% how I feel on it. He's talking 19-0, flying, all the hype, and he's talking about fighting someone who doesn't push him any further up, really. Who just someone who sort of gains him a few followers and earns him a few quid, which is the prize fighters at the end of the day. Like, that's what they're there to do. But I was a bit disappointed in that call out, and subsequently I've seen a few reports of who it looks like he's going to fight, and it looks like it's going to be Kevin Holland, if it's to be believed.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
I've seen a few reports, and if I'm right, I don't know how true they are, but if Twitter's to be believed, it looks like Kevin Holland's the chosen one. So
Kevin Holland,
I quite like that.
He's game. He's also beatable.
He's beatable, and he has a tendency, Kevin Holland, to try and fight your fight. And if he fights kickboxing with Shara, he's going to sleep.
That's an interesting one. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, I seen it on Twitter today. To be honest, I meant to send you that on Twitter today. I seen it come up because I was calling for Bo Nickel, wasn't I, last week?
Yeah.
Now, I've gone away and thought about that, and they're not going to do that, are they?
They're going to keep them apart.
They're going to build both of them up, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're going to have, no offense here, they're going to have one ginger boogie man out in Abu Dhabi, and they're going to have one ginger boogie man in America wrestling everyone, and it's just, they're going to meet in about 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I look forward to it.
Okay. That's going to be something to think about, like Kevin Holland. But then moving on to the next fight, it was Figgy and Cheeto.
Yeah.
Figueiredo looked very good for me. Cheeto looked old in there for me, to be honest. He didn't quite look himself. I mean, with Cheeto, I've never really thought that he's like out of this world. I've always thought he was very good. And like a little bit like Poirier in a way, but not as good as Poirier with a 40. Yeah, he'll probably get there and thereabouts, but he won't quite win. And you know, he's not going to be as good as Poirier, in my opinion. But in that fight, yeah, he looked old to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to like chime on like I'm some expert, but I think I said on last week's episode, I said that I don't like Chito Vera in 3-round fights. He looks like he struggles to get going, and he really looks like he struggled to get going again. I don't know what it is. I know he come out and he said after it, didn't he? He thinks he's come back too quick after the loss.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That was that April.
To be honest, that's a bit of a mad one as well, because okay, he's probably been concussed because he got his head boxed off for the most of it, but he didn't get knocked out. And like you're saying, it was a good few months back.
I think that was April. I think that was. So it's 3 months.
It was just before UFC 300. UFC 300 was April 12th. I reckon it was like March 29th, to be honest, which is basically April.
So don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you've gone through like a 12-week camp and you come out and you're a bit mentally done because you've been beaten and you didn't think you'd get beaten. Obviously, anyone who goes into a title fight thinks they're going to win the title fight. But if you've gone from a 12-week camp right back into another 12-week camp, it's probably mentally draining, in it. But it's not if that was the third time I'd seen him like that. Like if Leon come out and said that for his loss last week against Bilal, I'd understand, because I've not really seen that lethargy before. But I've seen that before from Chito Vera, and I said that last week on that episode.
Yeah, I think it leaves him in a weird spot, and I think with Figueiredo, he's very unlucky that Umar looked as good as he did, because otherwise you might have potentially had a #1 contender fight with Umar and Figueiredo and stuff like that. But like I said before, and we'll go into it a bit more, but I just think the UFC are going to give the nod to Umar, and I think Figueiredo, he's going to be fighting somebody else first. Fight before that was the dog that you had, Big Tony. It's over, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's been over for a while, but it's definitely over now.
I don't think there's loads to say on this fight. I've written sort of in the little notes I make before we come on. I don't think there's anything to really say. Leave the fighting before the fighting leaves you, and he's 6 or 7 fights too late for that. So
yeah, I think he's needed someone to pull him away, because clearly he can't do it. Even afterwards, the way he left the one glove, I'll keep this one just in case. Like, just in case what? Let's be honest, Chiesa's not like some killer. We were saying before the fight, he's big. He's not a killer though. He's not gonna go out there and end you, and he just absolutely sliced to him in like, what was it, 2 minutes?
Yeah, and an interesting stat I heard this on. I think I was listening to Ariel Hawani talking about the card before. I believe Michael Chiesa's last win was on Joe Biden's inauguration day. Now we're at another US election now, so that must be 3-4 years.
Yeah, well, he hadn't fought for over a year, and I think he was on his last fight was a loss. So yeah, probably 3-4.
There you go. So if he's beating Tony, that shows you where Tony's at, because the Tony of 6-7 years ago, as we said last week, would have diced him up.
Yeah.
Could have beat him on the feet and beat him on the ground.
Yeah. Yep.
The only thing I'd say on that is I think it's time for Dana to be honest with Tony and not give him another fight.
I honestly don't think he will.
I don't think he will. I don't.
He didn't want to last time, and well, look, the long and short of it is Tony got another fight. I think this was half a little layup where they were like, Chiesa's not going to badly hurt him. Tony could potentially win, go off and blah blah blah. I think that's it now. I'd be very, very surprised if they give him another fight. Like,
yeah, I can't. But my only concern then is, does he go to another organisation? And if he gets beaten in another organisation by a lesser fighter, does that taint him even more? Because what is he now? Is he 26-11 or something? So he's something like that. And at one point, I'm sure Tony was like 24-3.
Well, he will have been because he's on an 8-fight skid now. So he's going to be. He must have been 26-3 if he was 20. If he's 26-11 now.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the time, isn't it? It's actually caught up to him. I've seen a lot of people talking about like he tipped over the wire and it's all turned from them. Like, yeah, obviously it has. I think there's more to it than tipping over a wire, though. I think it's the Gaethje beating where it's not years off his career. That.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he was the kind of fighter where even in some of his wins, he took some serious damage. So I think he was probably already quite weathered, wasn't he, going into his losses?
Who was it that hurt him bad? Was it Kevin Lee? Knocked him down and he done like the forward roll and everything. Sure, or
that might have been Kevin Lee. Yeah, I remember Kevin Lee. It was a good fight.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
Bad, didn't he? And he done this big mad roll.
He's been hurt in a lot of his fights, but interestingly enough, I seen earlier on today that I think it was like a little snip of some odds from a couple of years ago when it was a potential fight between him and Khabib, and he was only slight underdog, very slight underdog. It's crazy.
That's the one that got away in it. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, moving on to next then, Mackenzie Dern got back in the win column. Hopefully now she can be a bit more consistent. She didn't get the sub that we wanted for the bet. I thought she looked all right, but to be honest, not a lot to say. It was just she won. Yeah,
my nap at the card, wasn't it, Mackenzie Dern? But I did strongly fancy her by sub. Disappointed that it was a decision victory. Not loads to say on it. It was 7th versus 10th, I think. Surprisingly enough, when I had a little look at the rankings today, Mackenzie Dern slipped from 7th to 8th with a win. I don't really know how that calculates, but as we say, we'll probably touch on the rankings later on again and discuss what we actually think of the rankings. But yeah, I like Mackenzie Dern, and she's one of the female fighters who I'd always tune in for. So hoping she can put a few wins together now.
Yeah, same. She needs a bit of consistency, it looked like she can get back to that, but like I said, there's not really that much to actually say about it. Yeah. And then the first fight on the main card, Joel Alvarez. We were saying on the pod it looked like it's one of them fights that could go either way. We backed Joel Alvarez, obviously he was one of the 7 that we both got, and he looked very good for me. Got the finish.
Yeah, to be honest, he surprised me massively. I had that touted as an absolute grappler's dream. Submission attempts, get ups, and to be honest, his striking was very good. He surprised me a lot.
I mean, he's not in the rankings, is he?
No.
His next fight's going to be for a ranking, I think. So it's an awkward one, isn't it? Because it's like his next fight will probably be before Paddy fights, because Paddy's going to wait for Moicano or BSD, depending on who wins and who loses. And I reckon that Alvarez is going to get in there before them. And realistically, he's going to need to be fighting 15-14. Paddy's 15. The only other fella, maybe at the Sanyos or something like that, to try and get him into the rankings. But yeah, I like the look of him. I think he could be, a top 5 going off that.
Don't be surprised at all if he does have a ranking fight and he takes the number 15 spot and we see Paddy get a random move to 14. Now that Paddy's ranked, he won't drop out the rankings. Trust me on that.
Yeah, true. I didn't actually think of that. I actually like the him and Paddy fight as well. If either of that would have come earlier, like when you were both outside the rankings, I think that could have been good. Now, I think it's one to save, definitely, for the future.
Well, he's got a bit about him, hasn't he, Alvarez, as well? He looks the part, and his striking was a lot better than I thought it'd be. Now, going into the fight, I'd have probably said, if he gets in the rankings, that's a favourable one for Paddy, but it's one I'd like to see now, definitely.
Yeah. And then to be fair, the prelims, we'll just touch on it quick. I didn't see the Gordon fight live. I've watched it since. And to be honest, I thought he looked good, 2nd and 3rd. Especially the end of the 2nd. I think Jordan, I can't really pronounce his name. Volkanich, is it?
Vucinic, is it?
Vucinic. Did you hear his corner?
No. Do you know what? I haven't seen much of the prelims at all.
Grave error. So they go into the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's 1-1 on every judge's scorecard, and I had it 1-1. and they told Jordan that he was 2 up, and basically said, "Stay upright, don't do nothing stupid. Yeah. You're gonna win. You get the first win in the UFC." Bearing in mind, he was coming in as a Cage Warriors champion. He was good. He could have kicked on there, and even if he was 2-0, he could have tried to make a statement and maybe try and get a finish over Gurham or anything like that. I thought it was just suicide of them saying it. Gurham come on, looked well. I feel for Gurham, to be honest. He's had a bad rub of the green. Like I said, he was on a bit of a skid there. He needed that win. I'm happy he got it. Yeah. I still think he could be like a decent player, but obviously it's the way the cookie crumbles though for Jordan.
It is, and I'll just touch on that. Obviously, I didn't see the fight myself, but given what you're saying there about the corner, you don't ever want to see a corner giving advice like that, really, do you? I think it's good if you do believe your fighter's down 2 rounds, then it's good to give them a rocket up the backside, so to speak, like Leon's trainer. Yeah, that's fine. And I think if the fight's close, you might be well within your right to say, look, you could be 2-0 down here. This is close. Get on your bike. But I wouldn't never tell me fighter they're 2-0 up ever.
Yeah,
it's just going to slow them down a little bit, and then you're susceptible into a knockout or a sub. Or I just would never do that.
Yeah, it was a mad one. It was a mad one when I watched it back. And then, yeah, to be fair, you had 2 good shouts on the prelims, and I had to do the cover that let me down. But I'd say that pretty much wraps up the night, how it went. Like I said, I don't know what I was quite expecting. It was all right. I was sort of expecting it to be better, but yeah, that was all it was.
Just give a quick shout out to one of my picks of the night for Azamat. I think obviously it was a ranked fight, as I said last week, 14 against 15. I haven't checked the rankings to see where he's moved up to or if he's moved at all. But he's a player in that weight division. He's a player. Yeah. As I say, he's getting on. He's 35, but he's got power in his hands. Yeah. And he's a scary man. He'll be getting avoided him.
Yeah, he did. To be fair, he did look good. Look good.
He doesn't look good to look at physically. He looks good in the cage, mate. He looks good in the cage.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy seeing him there. Like,
no, absolutely not.
Wouldn't fancy taking a dig off him.
He's a scary man. Scary man.
Yeah. Okay, well that wraps up the UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi analysis then. Thank you for everyone who's currently watching. Let us know in the comments if you'd agree with us, or if you've got other thoughts that you think will be next at bantamweight for Umar or Figgy or any of that. And obviously, like I said, thanks for watching.